Hello everyone, so this is the note on parallel lines cut by a transversal. You're going to need your notebook out and you're going to need some room to work. So this is all about definitions. I'm going to show you some examples and how to identify angles. Later on in the video we're going to be solving them using algebra. So the first thing we need to define is parallel. Things can be parallel if they don't intersect. Okay, so planes can be parallel, lines can be parallel. We're namely talking about lines. So lines being parallel are denoted by these arrows. You always have to remember that you need those arrows on the line for them to be marked as parallel. And then this line right here that cuts them, it cuts it in between two parts. So that dot and that dot. This line is what we call a transversal. A transversal is the line that crosses between two or more points. So the transversal is a line that crosses two or more lines, other lines. Okay, so this transversal is hitting both of these lines at one point. Now what happens is we have all these angles that get formed. So angle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Typically we've been working on just one set of these. So these four, we know these four all have to add up to 360. Same with these. 5 and 7 are vertical, 6 and 8 are vertical, and then linear pair 6 and 5, 6 and 7, those angles that form a line. And we've done that in the previous lessons in this unit. But we are now going to relate this set of four angles to this set of four angles because they're connected by that transversal. And there's four angle pairs that are formed with this. So, first off, we have to talk about interior and exterior. So you'll notice this is my transversal. So my transversal is going between these two lines. So interior is inside. Interior means inside, okay, inside the lines that are going to be crossed. So if this is my transversal, it's crossing these two lines here. So all these angles here, 3, 4, 5, and 6, are interior angles. And exterior are outside. So anything outside those two blue lines. So 1, 2, 7, and 8. So we can relate these to each other because there's some properties between them that allow us to take the measure from one and jump it down to some other measures in other angles. So the first one are corresponding angles. Corresponding angles, I want you to think same relative position. So in my diagram from the previous example, 1 and 5, 2 and 6, 4 and 8, and 3 and 7 are all corresponding angles. Because if this is my transversal, right there, and these are the lines that I'm crossing, you notice that both of those angles, 1 and 5, are to the left and above. So left of the transversal and above the lines that are being crossed. Same thing with 2 and 6. They're above the two lines that are being crossed, but on the right-hand side. And I can also color code this for you. So if I have my parallel lines cut by my transversal, What I'm talking about is 1 here, that corresponds to 5 here, above and to the left. 2 corresponds to 6. 3 corresponds to 7. And the last one, 4, corresponds to 8. You'll notice that they just jump, and this is the same as this. And that's what corresponding angles do. Now, if the lines are parallel, these angles are congruent. So that means 1 equals 5, 3 equals 7, 2 equals 6, 4 equals 8. So those are corresponding angles. Then there's alternate interior angles. Alternate means opposite sides of the transversal. Opposite sides of the transversal. So if this is my transversal again, you'll notice 3 and 5, 4 and 6, they're on opposite sides. But it also says interior. So they have to be inside the two lines that are being crossed. So 3 is on the inside, 5 is on the inside. 4 and 6. The alternate of that, the opposite of that, is exterior angles. Exterior angles, alternate exterior angles, opposite sides of the transversal. Again, the transversal, the line that's crossing those two lines. And on the outside, okay, so they're on the outside. So if you notice, this is my transversal, these are my parallel lines. 1 and 7, opposite sides of the transversal, the outside those two lines. If the lines are parallel, both of these are congruent. So 3 and 5 would be the same measure, 4 and 6 would be the same measure, 1, 7, 2, 8. So you would pair them up and they would be congruent to each other. Same side interior angles is just how it says. Same side of the transversal. Okay? And on the inside of the lines. So it would be angles like this angle right here. Okay, let's call this 1. It's on the inside, it's between these two lines. And this angle here. Let's say this is angle 2. So they're on the same side but of the transversal, but inside the black lines. And it would be the same on the other side, this angle and this angle. Those are same side interior angles. Same side interior angles. If the lines are parallel, then the angles are supplementary. Supplementary means add to 180. So it's going to be very important that we know this because we're going to be using some algebra later to solve these. So if I'm looking, 3, 4, 5, and 6, they're all on the inside, so those are interior angles. 3 and 5, 4 and 6, they're on the inside, we just established, but they're on the opposite sides of the transversal. Those are alternate interior. 3 and 6, 4 and 5, those are my what they call consecutive interior or same side interior angles. So all I'm doing is matching these things up. 1, 2, 7, 8, those are on the outside. Those are exterior angles. 1 and 7, 2 and 8, they're on opposite sides but outside. So those are alternate exterior. And then if I look, 1 and 5, 2 and 6, 4 and 8, 7 and 3, those are all in the same position. So those would be corresponding angles. So this worksheet that I'm showing you here is just all about identifying what angle pairs they are. And it sometimes is difficult when you have multiple lines like this. But if you highlight 10 and 16, what you have to do is you have 10 and 16, and those angles are connected by this line right here. So this is my transversal. And since they're on opposite sides, I know they're alternate, and they're outside the other two lines. So these are alternate exterior. Now I can erase this and say 4 and 12. Well, the line that connects them is this one. And they're in the same relative position on these two lines, so they are corresponding. I erase it. I have 12 and 13 that are connected by this, so they are called same side interior. And then the last one, 3 and 9 are connected by this line, opposite sides, but between the other two lines. So these are alternate interior. If you could please complete this worksheet identifying angles, all you're doing is putting them into those 4 categories, and then come with me for any questions. Thank you very much.